under our Constitution, we are prohibited from establishing religion, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what the establishment
says. If you have members of Congress that are legislating laws in accordance with their faith in regards to abortion or LGBTQ or women or any of those things, that should be prohibited within our Constitution.
You are not allowed to impose, through the government, your religious beliefs on others. That is not what religious freedom is about. That's not what our country rests on.
Yeah. For many of us, religious freedom is extremely important. It is life and death in this country. Yes. Many of us fled our countries to come to the United States because that is the one thing that distinguishes us from many countries. But it's also important that we have a secular government.
Did you all hear that? That was Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a sitting member of the United States Congress, openly asking whether other members should be prohibited from legislating based on their faith. Let that sink in. This is the quiet part said out loud. This is exactly what conservatives, Republicans, and supporters of President Trump have been warning about for years. The radical left, the Squad, doesn't just disagree with our values. They don't just oppose the pro-life movement or traditional marriage. They want to make it unacceptable, even impossible, to serve in government if you hold those beliefs. They want Christianity and Judeo-Christian ethics erased from public life. Full stop. We're about to watch this full clip, along with another where she questions the president of Columbia University. Pay close attention to the hypocrisy, the projection, and the blatant assault on American principles. This is what the modern left has turned into. And if you're fed up with it, if you're ready to push back for the soul of this nation, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment saying Save America.
Ms. Omar, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. President Shafiq, I wanted to get a clarification earlier. One of my colleagues asked you, have you seen anti-Muslim protests on campus?
I have seen, we have had pro-Israeli demonstrations on campus.
No.
But
just
not,
a protest that was
not,
against Muslims.
No, I have
you
not
seen one against Arabs?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Palestinians?
No, I have not.
Have you seen one against Jewish people? Have you seen a protest saying we are against Jewish people?
No, I have seen.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. There has been a rise in targeting and harassment against anti-war protesters because it's been pro-war and anti-war protesters is what it seems like, correct?
Correct. There has been.
Okay, thank you. Activists on campus, including Jewish students, Black and Brown, Arab and Muslim students. How many of the organizations that were canceled in Colombia involved Jewish students?
One of the organizations is called Jewish Voices for Peace.
Yes, and encompassed of Jewish students?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There was there's been a recent attack on the democratic rights of students across the country. I was appalled to learn that in April, Colombia suspended and evicted 6 students for their involvement in the pro-Palestinian panel event on campus. It happened that all 6 students were arbitrarily targeted after the university brought in a team of private and former police investigators. These investigators harassed, intimidated Palestinian students at their homes, demanding to see students' private text messages and sent threatening emails to the leaders of those pro-Palestinian groups. I would like to ask you to speak a little bit more to this situation and ask you if you guys have utilized private former police investigators before, or is this the first time?
So this was a very serious case. We had students who on an online
If you could
call,
shorten your answer, that would be really appreciated.
of course, who invited people who were inciting violence, and that is unacceptable. And so we needed to get to the bottom of it. And so that's why we brought private investigators along with notifying
How
the
secure
FBI.
were these students that you evicted and suspended were involved? Did you do any investigation? Was there a hearing?
They refused to cooperate with the investigation, and so until they do so, they are suspended.
Okay, thank you. And then in January, there was an incident involving students that were protesting that were attacked with a toxic chemical substance, leaving many hospitalized. A lot of them did not receive support from the school administrators. Can you speak to what is happening with the investigation, if you all are cooperating, and why weren't the students provided any support after they've experienced that attack?
So this is still with the police, and as far as we know, we think it was an odorous substance, and we did reach out to all of those students who said they were affected. Many of them didn't want support. We also
It took you guys more than 4 days to reach out to students.
No, I don't believe that's correct.
Okay, will you
actually.
respond, give me a written response with the fact that you all responded right away to those students?
Yes, I would be happy to do that.
All right, appreciate that. And it looks like there's been a lot of doxing and harassment that has taken place. What protections are a student being provided?
Yeah. We created a doxing resources group to support students. There were many students who were affected by this. Muslim students, Jewish students, and completely, other students. That group we had 90 students reach out to that group to get support in terms of both technical support, legal support, privacy scrubbing, and so on.
And before I run out of time, I wanted to ask what do your rules say about professors that harass students online, like Professor Shai Davidar has done, and professors who directly attack you as the president as a coward and a liar?
So, as president, I'm used to being attacked, but attacking our students is unacceptable. And in that case, we've had more than 50 complaints about that professor, and he is currently under investigation for harassment.
Let's break this down, because it's genuinely infuriating. First, that so-called religious freedom hearing. Omar opens with a basic question. Under our Constitution, we're prohibited from establishing a religion. We all agree. No, Church of America. But then comes the trap. Immediately after that, she asks, so if members of Congress legislate based on their faith on issues like abortion, LGBTQ, women, that should be prohibited? Do you see the game? She just equated a Republican voting pro-life because they believe life is a sacred gift from God with illegally establishing a state religion. That is a dishonest, shameful leap in logic. And let's be clear, when Ilhan Omar talks about legislating based on faith, she doesn't mean her own faith. She means yours. She means Christians. She means conservatives whose moral compass is shaped by their beliefs. She is laying the groundwork to disqualify an entire side of the political aisle from public service. Then comes the hypocrisy. She gives this emotional speech about how religious freedom is life or death, how people flee their homelands to come to America for it, and then, with the same breath, insists that government must be secular. And when she says secular, she doesn't mean neutral. The radical left never means neutral. They mean hostile to Christianity. They mean a public square scrubbed clean of any faith that built this country. She is using the protection of religious freedom to undermine the religious freedom of the very people who created it. This is exactly why leaders like President Trump matter. Leaders not afraid to say Merry Christmas, not afraid to defend Judeo-Christian values in public life. Now let's move to the Columbia hearing, because unbelievably, it gets worse. The president of Columbia University, Dr. Shafik, is in an impossible situation. Her campus has been overrun by radical, anti-Semitic mobs. Jewish students are being harassed, threatened, told to go back to Poland, and they're afraid to walk on their own campus. That is why the hearing exists, out-of-control anti-Semitism. So what does Ilhan Omar do? Does she condemn it? Does she demand safety for Jewish students? Not even close. She immediately flips the script. Have there been anti-Muslim protests? Anti-Arab protests? It's pure whataboutism. And Dr. Shafik, to her credit, calmly has to say no, because it's not happening. Omar builds a fantasy to make the pro-Hamas, rule-breaking mobs look like victims. Then she calls them anti-war protesters. Please. These are people chanting from the river to the sea, a call for the eradication of Jews. They are chanting about global intifada, a call for violent uprising. These aren't peace activists. These are extremist agitators. And Omar defends them. Then she becomes outraged, actually outraged, that students were suspended or investigated. Dr. Shafik states it plainly, these students were punished because they invited violent agitators, broke university rules, threatened classmates, and created a dangerous, hostile, anti-Semitic environment. And Omar's only concern is that they faced consequences. And then the chemical attack. Omar treats it like a nerve gas incident. Dr. Shafik calmly explains it was an odorous substance, a stink bomb, and police are investigating. For all we know, the protesters set it off themselves. Omar fixates on that while ignoring the actual harassment and threats Jewish students face daily. This is the squad's playbook. Defend the mob. Attack the institutions. Reverse victim and oppressor. And as we saw in the first hearing, lay the foundation for banning their political opponents from public life. This is why the 2024 election mattered. And why every election from now on is a battle for the soul of America. We're choosing between people who love this country and people like Ilhan Omar who want to tear it down and silence anyone who disagrees. I know where I stand. With Dr. Shafik for trying to restore order. With President Trump and the Republican Party for trying to save this nation. Now let me know what you think. Was I too harsh or not nearly harsh enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.